There is a moment your soul has not forgotten, even if your mind cannot name it. Something in your life has started to shift subtly, quietly, but deeply, and it feels different from anything before. Not louder, but more real. Ibn Arabi would point to this as a sign that preparation has already begun, because Allah does not reveal suddenly. He prepares you slowly, in ways you don't immediately recognize. What you are experiencing right now is not random change, it is a refinement, an inner adjustment, a soft unfolding guiding you toward a meeting that was never meant to surprise you, but to be recognized. And the deeper truth is this: that meeting is not waiting somewhere ahead of you. It is drawing closer the moment your heart becomes able to receive what it was always being prepared for. Something inside you is being rewritten. What you are experiencing is not something you consciously decided. It is not the result of a clear plan or a deliberate change. It is happening quietly, beneath your usual awareness, in a way that does not ask for your permission, yet continues to unfold. You may notice it in small ways at first, how your reactions are no longer the same, how certain things that once held your attention now feel distant, how your responses carry a different weight than before. This is not confusion. It is a form of rewriting, not of your identity on the surface, but of how you perceive, how you feel, and how you relate to everything around you. The structure through which you understand your life is being adjusted, and because this adjustment is internal, it does not always appear clearly in your outer circumstances. You may find that what used to feel important no longer carries the same intensity. Conversations that once felt engaging now feel incomplete. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel unfamiliar. It is not that these things have changed in themselves, but your way of receiving them has shifted. This shift can feel unsettling, not because something is wrong, but because something within you is no longer aligned with what it once accepted. Your heart is no longer responding in the same patterns. It is not reacting in the ways it used to. It is becoming more selective, more aware, more sensitive to what carries depth and what does not. You may notice a quiet pull toward things you cannot fully explain, a sense of being drawn without knowing why, a feeling that something is changing direction, even if you cannot clearly define where it is leading. This pull does not demand your attention loudly. It remains steady, returning to you even when you try to ignore it. This is part of the rewriting. It is not only removing what no longer fits, it is also adjusting what you are drawn toward. It is shaping your attention, guiding it toward what aligns with the change that is taking place within you. Because of this, your inner world begins to feel different. Thoughts may still come, but they do not hold the same control. Emotions may still arise, but they carry a different meaning. You begin to observe yourself in a way you did not before. You notice patterns in your reactions, shifts in your awareness, and a gradual movement away from what once felt familiar. This process is not immediate. It unfolds in layers. Some parts of you change quickly, while others take time to adjust. There are moments where you feel clear, followed by moments where everything feels uncertain again. This movement between clarity and uncertainty is part of the process. It shows that something is being restructured, not removed all at once, but refined gradually. You may try to understand it fully, to define what is happening, to give it a clear explanation. But this kind of change does not always allow itself to be fully understood in the moment it is occurring. It becomes clearer through experience, through noticing how you respond differently over time, through recognizing how your awareness continues to shift. What is important is not to force clarity, but to remain aware of the change itself. To notice that you are not the same in the way you see, in the way you feel, in the way you respond. This recognition creates a different kind of stability. Not the stability of things remaining the same, but the stability of knowing that what is changing within you is not without direction. It is moving in a way that is consistent, even if it is not fully explained. This rewriting is not random. It is precise. It adjusts what you are able to perceive, what you are able to recognize, and what you are able to receive. It prepares your inner state for something that requires a different level of awareness than what you previously held. And because this preparation is happening within you, it may not be visible to others. From the outside, everything may appear the same, but within you, something is being reorganized in a way that is shaping how you will meet what is ahead. You are not losing yourself. You are being restructured, not into something unfamiliar, but into something more aligned with what your heart is being prepared to recognize. You are being moved away before you are brought closer. What you are experiencing may feel like distance, as if things are slipping away without clear reason. Certain connections no longer hold you the same way. Certain places no longer feel like they belong to you. Even the direction you once trusted may begin to loosen, leaving you in a space that feels uncertain and unfamiliar. It is easy to see this as a loss, to feel that something is being taken from you before you understand why, to wonder why what once felt stable is no longer steady, why what once felt close is no longer within reach. This kind of movement can feel disorienting because it does not always come with an explanation. It simply happens quietly, gradually, until you realize you are no longer where you used to be. But this movement is not without meaning. You are not only being moved away, you are being repositioned. There are things that once aligned with you because they matched who you were at that time. They supported your understanding, your awareness, and your way of seeing the world. But as something within you begins to change, what once aligned can no longer remain in the same way. This does not make those things wrong. It means your position has shifted. When your inner state changes, your outer connections begin to adjust, not always by your choice, but by a movement that reflects what is unfolding within you. You may try to hold on to what feels familiar, to keep what once felt right, but you begin to sense that it no longer fits in the same way. This is where the difficulty arises, because what is leaving often feels more real than what is coming. You can see what you are moving away from. You can feel its absence, but what you are being brought toward is not yet visible. It does not have a clear form. It does not present itself in a way that gives you certainty. It remains unseen, and because of this, the movement feels incomplete. But this is part of the process. You are not meant to hold both positions at the same time. To be brought closer to something, you must first be released from what no longer aligns. This release creates space, even if that space feels empty at first. It removes what would otherwise keep you fixed in a place that no longer reflects your inner state. This space is not a gap without purpose. It is a transition, a place where your awareness adjusts, where your perception continues to refine, where your heart becomes more attuned to what it is being prepared to recognize. Without this space, the shift would not be complete. You would carry what no longer belongs into what is ahead, and this would prevent you from fully receiving what is meant for you. You may feel that you are between two places, no longer connected to what was, and not yet connected to what is coming. This in-between can feel uncertain, even unsettling. But it is not a place of being lost. It is a place of being aligned, even if that alignment is not yet clear to you. There is a quiet order in this movement. What is removed is not random. What is kept is not accidental. What is being rearranged is following a direction that is shaping your path in ways you may not yet fully see. Each step away is also a step toward, even if the destination is not visible. As you remain with this process, something begins to change in how you experience it. You stop seeing the movement as something that is taking you away from what you need. You begin to see it as something that is clearing the way for what you are meant to receive. The absence begins to feel less like loss and more like preparation. You begin to trust that what is leaving is not leaving without reason, and that what is coming does not need to appear immediately for it to be real. This trust does not remove all uncertainty, but it changes how you stand within it. You no longer resist the movement in the same way. You allow it to unfold, even if you do not fully understand it. You begin to see that being moved away is not a sign of being disconnected, but a step within a larger alignment. And within this alignment, you are not drifting. You are being placed, not by force, but through a quiet adjustment that is bringing you closer to what your heart is being prepared to meet. The weight you feel is part of the refinement. What you have been carrying does not always feel light. It settles within you as a pressure that is difficult to describe, not sharp enough to be called pain, yet heavy enough to be felt in your thoughts, in your chest, and in the way you move through your days. You may have tried to understand this weight, to trace it back to something specific, to find a clear reason for why it stays with you in such a persistent way. But this weight is not always tied to a single cause. It is part of a process. Not a process that removes something from you, but one that reshapes what is already within you. Refinement does not always feel gentle. It does not always arrive as ease or comfort. It works through pressure, through adjustment, through a gradual change that requires your inner state to respond in ways it has not responded before. You are being made more aware, and awareness carries weight. It brings into your perception what was previously unnoticed. It makes you feel what you once passed by without attention. It reveals layers within your experiences that were always present but not fully received. As this awareness deepens, your heart begins to carry more at once, not because it is being burdened unnecessarily, but because it is becoming capable of holding more clearly. This is why the weight feels different. It is not only about what is happening around you, it is about what is changing within you as you move through it. You are no longer interacting with your life in the same way. You are sensing more, noticing more, and responding with a depth that was not there before. This depth requires adjustment, and adjustment creates pressure. You may feel this as a kind of inner tension, as if something is being reorganized without your full understanding. There are times when your thoughts become heavier, not because they are negative, but because they are trying to make sense of what is shifting. There are times when your emotions feel stronger, not because they are out of control, but because they are touching deeper layers within you. This is not instability. It is transformation. A heart that is being refined does not remain in its previous state. It becomes more precise in what it responds to. It becomes more sensitive to what aligns and what does not. It becomes less willing to carry what is not true and more open to what carries meaning. As this change takes place, the weight you feel is part of the transition between what you were and what you are becoming. You are not being overwhelmed without purpose. You are being adjusted. This adjustment does not happen all at once. It moves gradually, allowing you to experience each layer as it unfolds. There are times when the weight feels stronger and times when it eases. These shifts are not random. They reflect how the process is moving within you. When the weight increases, it is often because something deeper is being brought into your awareness. When it softens, it is because something has been understood, even if you cannot fully explain how. Understanding does not always come through clear thought. It can come through feeling, through presence, through a quiet recognition that something has settled within you. As you begin to notice this, your relationship with the weight starts to change. You no longer see it only as something to remove. You begin to see it as something that is shaping you. This does not mean you need to carry it without care. It means you begin to hold it with awareness rather than resistance. You allow it to move through you rather than trying to push it away before it has completed its role. When you resist the weight, it feels heavier. When you remain with it, it begins to reveal what it is connected to. This revelation is not always immediate, but it is consistent. It shows you where you are being refined, where your perception is deepening, where your awareness is becoming clearer. It shows you that what you are experiencing is not random pressure, but a form of preparation that is adjusting your inner state. You are being made capable of receiving something that requires a different kind of clarity. And clarity is not formed without refinement. It is shaped through what you feel, through what you carry, through what you are learning to understand without needing everything to be explained at once. The weight you feel is not there to break you. It is there to reshape how you hold what enters your life. And as this reshaping continues, you begin to notice that the same weight that once felt overwhelming starts to feel different. Not because it has disappeared, but because you have become capable of carrying it in a way that no longer feels like resistance. It becomes part of your awareness, part of your clarity, part of the way you recognize what is real. And in this recognition, what once felt like heaviness begins to reveal itself. A refinement. You are being taught without realizing it. What is shaping you is not always presented as something to learn. It does not arrive with clear instruction, defined steps, or an obvious outcome. It moves through your experiences in a quiet way, woven into what you go through rather than explained before it happens. You pass through situations, conversations, changes, and shifts in your inner state, and it may feel as though you are simply living through them without fully understanding their purpose. But beneath what you experience, something is being taught, not through direct explanation, but through exposure. You are being shown what certain feelings carry, what certain environments reveal, and how different situations affect your awareness. This teaching does not depend on your immediate understanding. It unfolds gradually, shaping your perception without requiring you to name it. You may find that your responses are changing without a clear reason. You begin to notice that you react differently to things that once felt familiar. You become more aware of what feels aligned and what does not, even if you cannot fully explain why. This change is not random. It reflects what has already been absorbed within you through what you have experienced. Learning does not only happen through clear thought, it also happens through feeling. When you move through something that affects you deeply, your heart begins to understand it in a way that your mind may not immediately capture. It recognizes patterns, senses meaning, and stores impressions that remain even after the moment has passed. These impressions become part of how you see, how you respond, and how you recognize what is placed in front of you. This is why you begin to see things differently without being taught in a formal way. You may notice that certain behaviors that once felt acceptable no longer sit well with you. Certain words carry a weight you did not notice before. Certain environments feel heavy or distant, even if nothing has visibly changed. This shift in perception is the result of what you have been taught through experience. It is not something you memorized. It is something you became aware of. You may feel that you are moving without clear direction. You may question what is being shown to you or why certain experiences repeat in different forms. You may feel that you are going through something without understanding what it is leading toward. But even in this uncertainty, the teaching continues. Each experience carries something within it that contributes to your awareness. It may not be obvious in the moment. It may not become clear until later, but it remains within you, influencing how you see and respond. You begin to notice connections between what you have gone through and how you now understand things. What once felt unclear begins to take shape as part of a larger pattern. This pattern is not formed by chance. It is formed through what you have been shown. You are not being taught all at once. You are being guided through layers. Each layer brings a different level of awareness, a different way of seeing, a different understanding of what is real and what is not. These layers build upon each other, even when you are not consciously aware of the process. There are times when you may feel that you have not learned anything, that you are still uncertain, still searching, still trying to understand. But this feeling comes from expecting learning to appear as clear knowledge. What is happening within you is more subtle than that. You are becoming able to recognize. Recognition is not always immediate. It develops as your awareness becomes more refined. You begin to see things that were always present, but not previously noticed. You understand situations in ways that were not accessible to you before. You respond with a depth that reflects what has been absorbed within you. This is the result of being taught without realizing it. Your experiences are not separate from your understanding. They are shaping it continuously. What you go through is not only something you endure, it is something that contributes to how you perceive, how you interpret, and how you respond. As this process continues, your trust in what you are experiencing begins to change. You no longer feel the need to understand everything immediately. You begin to allow things to unfold without forcing them into clear explanations. You recognize that what you are going through carries meaning, even if that meaning is not yet fully visible. This recognition brings a different kind of steadiness. You move through your experiences with more awareness, even when you do not fully understand them. You begin to see that what you are learning is not always something you can describe, but something you can feel and recognize as it develops. You are not being left without guidance. You are being taught in a way that does not rely on words. Each experience is shaping your awareness. Each shift is refining your perception. Each feeling is contributing to your understanding. And as this understanding deepens, you begin to see that what once felt unclear was never without purpose. It was part of a process that was quietly forming within you, not to give you answers all at once, but to prepare you to recognize what you are being shown when the moment arrives. Your sensitivity is becoming your access point. What you once struggled with is not something that needs to be removed. It is something that is being refined into a form you have not yet fully recognized. The way you feel, the way you notice, the way certain things affect you more deeply than others, this was never placed within you without purpose. You may have spent time trying to reduce it, trying to feel less, react less, care less. You may have believed that if you could become more distant, more controlled, more unaffected, things would become easier. But each time you tried to move in that direction, something within you resisted. Not loudly, but consistently. That resistance was not weakness. It was preservation, because your sensitivity is not a flaw in your design. It is part of how you perceive what others do not notice. It allows you to sense what is not being said, to feel what is not being shown, to recognize shifts that remain hidden beneath the surface. What overwhelms you is not simply emotion, it is information your heart is receiving in a way that is more direct and less filtered. This is why certain environments affect you more. It is not that you are unable to handle them, it is that you are aware of more within them. You feel the tension, the insincerity, the imbalance, even when nothing is openly expressed. Your heart does not only respond to what is visible, it responds to what is present. This sensitivity also draws you toward what is real. You feel ease where there is sincerity. You feel calm where there is alignment. You recognize depth where others may only see the surface. This ability is not something you created. It is something that is becoming clearer as you move through your experiences. What is happening now is not an increase in sensitivity. It is a refinement of it. You are beginning to understand what you feel rather than being controlled by it. You are learning to remain present with your awareness instead of trying to escape it. This changes how your sensitivity functions. It stops overwhelming you in the same way and begins to guide you. It becomes an access point, not to information that is obvious, but to what is subtle. You begin to see that what you feel is not random. It follows a pattern. It responds to what is aligned and withdraws from what is not. It shows you where your attention should remain and where it should move away. This guidance does not always come with explanation, but it carries consistency. As you begin to trust this, your relationship with your sensitivity changes. You stop trying to silence it. You stop treating it as something that needs correction. You begin to recognize it as a way of perceiving. This does not mean you will never feel overwhelmed. There are still moments where what you feel is strong, where your awareness becomes intense, where you need space to settle. But within this, there is also a growing clarity. You begin to understand what your sensitivity is showing you. You begin to see how it connects to your direction. You begin to recognize that what once felt like a burden is becoming a form of access. Access to what is real, access to what is aligned, access to what is being brought toward you. And as this understanding deepens, you no longer try to become less sensitive. You begin to become more aware of what your sensitivity is revealing, because it was never placed within you to make your path harder. It was placed within you to make your path visible in a way others may not immediately see. What feels unclear is actually guiding you. You often expect direction to appear in a way that removes all uncertainty, something defined, something that answers your questions without leaving anything unresolved. Because of this expectation, when you feel unsure, when you cannot clearly explain what is happening or where you are being led, you assume that guidance is not present. But what you are calling unclear is not the absence of direction. It is a direction that has not yet taken the form your mind is asking for. There are movements within your life that do not come with explanation. You feel a shift without being able to define it. You sense a change in how you relate to things, yet you cannot fully describe what has changed. You feel drawn away from certain paths without knowing exactly where you are being led instead. This lack of clarity can feel uncomfortable. It leaves space for questions, for hesitation, for a sense of not fully knowing what is happening. The mind seeks to resolve this quickly. It tries to organize what you feel into something that can be understood, something that can be named, something that can be controlled. When it cannot do this, it begins to doubt. It questions whether what you are sensing is real, whether there is any direction at all, whether you are simply uncertain without purpose. But what you are experiencing is not uncertainty without meaning. It is guidance that is unfolding in a way that requires your awareness, not your immediate understanding. Not everything that guides you comes with clarity at the beginning. Some forms of direction reveal themselves only as you move with them. They do not present the full path. They show you a part and allow the rest to unfold through your experience. You may notice that certain choices begin to feel less aligned, even if you cannot explain why. You may feel a quiet resistance towards something that once felt acceptable. You may sense that a direction you were following no longer carries the same certainty, even if nothing external has changed. These shifts are not random. They are adjustments within your awareness. They guide you by changing how things feel to you, rather than by explaining what you should do. They move your attention, your sensitivity, your perception, without needing to provide a complete explanation. This is why they feel unclear, because they are not speaking in the language of certainty. They are guiding through recognition. Recognition does not always arrive with words. It appears as a sense that something is right or not right, without needing to justify itself. It remains quiet, but consistent. It returns to your awareness, even when you try to move past it. When you ignore this, it does not disappear. It continues to appear in different forms, through repeated feelings, through recurring situations, through a sense that something is not fully settled. This repetition is not meant to confuse you, It is meant to draw your attention back to what you have not yet recognized. The mind may resist this because it prefers clarity that removes doubt, but the heart recognizes what is real without needing everything to be explained. It feels aligned before it becomes clear. It senses direction before it is defined. It responds to what is present beneath the surface, even when the surface itself appears uncertain. As you begin to trust this, your relationship with uncertainty changes. You no longer see it as something that must be resolved immediately. You begin to remain with it, to observe what it is pointing toward, to notice how it shapes your awareness over time. You begin to see that what felt unclear at first carries a consistency that becomes more visible as you stay present with it. This does not mean confusion disappears, but it no longer feels empty. It begins to feel like a space where something is forming. You notice that what once felt uncertain starts to reveal a direction through your experience. What you could not explain begins to make sense as you move through it. What felt unclear begins to show its meaning, not all at once, but in parts that connect over time. This connection is important. It shows you that what you are experiencing is not without structure. It is unfolding in a way that requires patience, attention, and openness. It is not giving you everything at once because everything at once would not be received in the same way. You are being guided in a way that allows your awareness to develop with the direction, not ahead of it, not behind it, but with it. This is why clarity is not immediate. It grows as your perception grows. And as you begin to see this, you stop demanding answers in the form you once expected. You begin to recognize that what you are feeling, even when it is unclear, is part of a movement that is shaping your path. You begin to notice that the same feeling returns, the same direction appears, the same quiet awareness continues to guide you, even when you try to define it differently. This consistency becomes your reference, not certainty that removes all doubt, but a steady presence that does not change. And within that presence, what once felt unclear begins to reveal itself, not as confusion, but as guidance that was always there, moving you in a way your heart could follow, before your mind could understand. You are being prepared to recognize, not to chase. You have been taught to move toward what you seek, to search, to pursue, to reach. You were shown that what matters must be found through effort, that meaning lies somewhere ahead, waiting for you to arrive. Because of this, you learned to chase what you felt was missing, to move quickly toward what seemed important, and to measure progress by how close you believed you were getting. But what is being prepared for you does not follow this movement. It does not require you to chase it. It requires you to become able to recognize it. There is a difference between reaching for something and being able to see it when it appears. Chasing keeps your attention fixed on distance. It creates the feeling that what you seek is somewhere else, separated from you, waiting at a point you have not yet reached. Recognition, on the other hand, changes how you perceive. It allows you to see what is already near, what is already unfolding, what is already being brought into your awareness. What you are going through is not pushing you towards something far away. It is adjusting how you see what is coming closer. You may have felt a strong urge to search for clarity, to find answers, to move towards something that feels meaningful. This urge is natural, but it can also lead you to overlook what is already forming within your experience. You begin to look outward for something that matches your expectation, while what is meant for you is approaching in a way that does not match that expectation. This is why chasing can create distance. Not because what you seek is far, but because your attention is placed in the wrong direction. You are looking ahead, while what you need to see is already within your reach. Preparation changes this. It shifts your focus from seeking to noticing. It begins to refine your awareness so that you are no longer moving past what is important. Instead of trying to reach something quickly, you begin to stay with what is present. You allow your attention to settle, and in that settling, your perception becomes clearer. This clarity is not forced. It develops as you become more aligned with what you are experiencing. You start to notice how certain things repeat in your life, not as coincidence, but as patterns that carry meaning. You begin to see how your reactions are changing, how your sensitivity is guiding you, how your awareness is becoming more precise. These are not random changes. They are part of the preparation that allows you to recognize what is being brought toward you. Recognition requires a certain kind of readiness. Not readiness in action, but readiness in perception. If something were placed in front of you before your awareness was aligned with it, you would not see it for what it is. You might overlook it, misunderstand it, or move past it without realizing its significance. This is why preparation happens first. It shapes your ability to see. It refines how you perceive. It adjusts your awareness so that when what is meant for you appears, you do not miss it. You begin to understand that what you were trying to find was not hidden. It was simply not yet recognizable to you. This realization changes how you move through your life. You stop rushing toward what you think you need. You begin to pay attention to what is already present. You become more aware of how things unfold, how moments connect, how your inner state responds to what is around you. This awareness allows you to see what you would have previously overlooked. As this continues, you begin to feel less urgency, not because you no longer care, but because you understand that what is meant for you does not depend on how fast you move toward it. It depends on how clearly you are able to recognize it. This clarity does not come from effort alone. It comes from alignment. When your inner state is aligned, recognition happens naturally. You do not need to force understanding. You do not need to search in the same way. What is meant to be seen becomes clear without needing to be chased. You may still feel the desire to move forward, to take steps, to engage with what is in front of you. But this movement is no longer driven by urgency or lack. It is guided by awareness. You move with what is unfolding, rather than trying to reach something that feels distant. This changes your experience completely. What once felt far begins to feel near. What once felt hidden begins to feel visible. What once felt uncertain begins to carry a quiet clarity. And you begin to see that what you were preparing for was not something you needed to find. It was something you needed to recognize. Not as something new, but as something that becomes clear when your awareness is ready to see it. Because what is meant for you does not require chasing. It requires a heart that can recognize it. When it arrives in a form that does not demand attention, but reveals itself to those who are able to see. And maybe nothing in your life is out of place right now. Not the confusion, not the distance, not even the parts you don't understand yet. Because what feels uncertain is not empty. It is active, quietly, precisely. You are not being left behind. You are being positioned. And the moment your heart becomes ready enough, not louder, not faster, but clearer, you will not feel like you found something. You will feel like you finally recognized what was always coming toward you. Because this was never about reaching the meeting. It was about becoming the one who can receive it.